Rico and Declan. Rico and Declan. It's the Rico and Declan College Football Show. Let's go!
Howdy, folks, and welcome to episode 11 of the Rico and Declan College Football Show. I'm your host, Rico, and we got Lil Man on the night cam. You really can't see him. There he is, right in the corner. He's sound asleep. Declan is starting to crawl. I think I mentioned this last podcast, and then he's also starting to stand. He did this today, so a lot of milestones for my buddy who's 9 months old now. Shout out to my wife. She's done an incredible job. We had a great Father's Day weekend. Went out to dinner on the water side over at Palm Beach Gardens. It was a great time. And it was just a wholesome time with my family. So, again, shout out to my family and shout out to my wife for doing an incredible job raising our son. And I can't do this podcast without her and his support. So shout out to my family. But anyways, I was supposed to record this episode about an hour ago, and then we had some technical difficulties. I had apparently needed to get an update with my laptop, which I just did. Took longer than expected, and then I tried to fiddle around with the app trying to get different backgrounds, but it said my computer does not support it. It's not like the specific hardware, I guess. But nonetheless, here we are an hour and 20 minutes later, recording episode 11. Tonight, we're going to cover 6 Big 12 teams. I'm going to preview the Big 12. The 6 teams we're going to cover are going to be in this order. Baylor. Actually, no, sorry. I made a mistake. A little brain fart there. It's going to be Texas Tech, West Virginia, Cincinnati, BYU, Baylor, and Kansas State, then Baylor. So Kansas State will be the 5th team, and the 6th team will be Baylor. So again, it's in that order. Not going to pick my team to win the conference just yet. I had Texas Tech originally, but now that they don't have Brendan Sorsby for the season, he got in that whole legal mess, and I'll discuss it a little bit more. I think we all know what's going on there, but that was a huge loss for them. But yeah, I'll discuss about my conference winner. Probably, I might talk about it tonight actually, but I want to leave that kind of up for grabs in the 3rd episode that we'll cover for this conference. So again, this is a Big 12 preview, part 1. We're going to do part 2 tomorrow. If I have any energy on Wednesday, we'll do part 3. Probably not Wednesday because I'm going to be playing a late hockey game at 10:30. Men's leagues games, they're brutal as is at 10:30. And sometimes our games start at like 10:40 because if a team, if 2 teams are playing before us and they go to an overtime game, that prolongs our start time for our game. So we'll see about that. But anyways, let's go into the news for the college football week. Not really some new news that I saw. Let me cover this up. Here we go. Oh, wow. Julius Jones Jr., the 4-star recruit. So he's going to Notre Dame. Northwestern's Carcello gets injunction to play. Jackson Carcello, he will be eligible to play the 2026 season. He sued the NCAA for additional year of eligibility after being denied his request for an eligibility waiver this spring. the NCAA argued that in 2021 his ankle injuries did not prevent him from any chance of playing, and that season would count as his redshirt year rather than 2022. Carcelo appeared in 4 games in 2022 and 32 in the past 3 seasons, starting in all 13 contests in 2025. His attorney, he said Mr. Carcelo didn't impose a high ankle sprain on himself in order to dodge the rules of the NCAA. You have his own coach saying, I wouldn't have put him in. He was damaged. It would have been unhealthy. It would have been a violation. I don't take attacks on the NCAA lightly. The type of guy we like, he's not suffering from a gambling addiction. So he threw shots at Brendan Sorsby. Oh, wow. Yeah, this attorney's funny. Iowa State to sell alcohol at football and hoop games. I guess that was, maybe they're one of the last teams not to do so. I remember when I went to school at West Virginia, we were one of the first schools in the country to permit alcohol to be sold in the stadium. It has its negative effects. A lot of people get drunk at these games and then they make a mockery out of themselves and they get tossed or thrown out of the game, or they start fights. I one time went to a Jets Monday Night Football game against the New Orleans Saints. I think it was like either 05 or 06. And I remember too, because I want to say it was 05 probably. It was like the last year they had Aaron Brooks. So this is pre Drew Brees and what he did for that city. But anyways, I go to this Monday Night Football game. The Jets got killed. And I remember going in the men's restroom. I had to, use the restroom. And I'm just a teenager at the time. I'm 14. I hear people, getting into a fight. And I ran out of there because I didn't want to get involved in the fight myself. I'm, young kid, and I don't want anything to happen to myself. Turns out that fight, it got onto the concourse, and apparently a cop broke his arm trying to, break it up, and there was all these people got arrested. It was 5 to 6 arrests. It was just a madhouse. It was a mess. So selling alcohol at games, I don't mind it because I've gone to so many sporting events that sell alcohol. But if you don't know how to take care of yourself and you don't know how to supervise yourself in drinking, you shouldn't be drinking at these games. So Iowa State, I thought you sold alcohol before. I guess you didn't. I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't know if that's newsworthy. I guess it's a slow day in news for ESPN. I did want to talk about Parker Kingston. He got his case thrown out by the Utah state courts, and now he is eligible for another season of college football. Do I think BYU is going to go and take him back? No. I know that he was found not guilty of his charge. I'm not going to go into details about that charge. You could look it up for yourself. But it was something that was inappropriate. I don't know if he did it or if he didn't, but I do know that BYU is not going to let him back on the roster. I just don't see them giving him another shot. They kicked him off, and it would be kind of awkward to say, oh, well, you were found not guilty, we're going to let you back in. I think he's going to find a different school. My opinion is innocent, until proven guilty, but I don't know. With these kind of cases, it's tricky. So I think he should be able to play, but at the same point, I also that I don't condone that kind of behavior. I'll just put it that way. All right, let's go into the previews because I am exhausted and there's not really much news to cover except for that, Parker Kingston's case being thrown over. All right, so we're going to start off with Texas Tech. Hang on one second. I thought I had their roster here. Here we go. All right, so I can pull it off on the share screen. So again, sorry guys if the technical difficulties were too long to overcome here. There we go. So Texas Tech, they're led by Joey McGuire. And Joey McGuire did a terrific job last season. They were the best team in the Big 12. I feel like they had a legitimate shot to beat Oregon. I picked them to beat Oregon. And what happened in that game, sorry about these ads, I got to delete them all, was that their offense was horrendous. They didn't get anything going until the second half. Baron Morin was not a good QB. And then their defense played great, but it ran out of steam. So I really feel like this season it'll kind of be the same as last season, but it all depends on their QB. So having Will Hammond come back, he's a sophomore, redshirt sophomore. If you look at his numbers, he didn't do much, but the thing is, Baron Morton, he came back, and then Hammond lost his starting spot. So I think Hammond is fully capable of winning, 9 to 10 games. I got to see their schedule. I do like them to repeat as Big 12 champions, but I also need to see their schedule. I think Hammond is talented, but now this whole Sorsby situation has unfolded. He's gone. Do I think it'll affect them? Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. And we'll go from there. All right, so I think Will Hammond, if I had to give him a grade as a QB, I think he's a B. Cameron Dickey, I like a lot. I think Dickey's one of the best running backs in the nation. He's very underrated, 5'10", 215. He had a great season last season. Look at those stats, 1,000 yards rushing, 14 touchdowns. He was reliable. Didn't do much against Oregon. He was very quiet in that game. BYU, he played decent. And he gets catches out of the backfield. Not a lot, but here and there. Played good against West Virginia. He really went off against Kansas. I mean, Kansas sucks. They're terrible. But I like Cameron Dickey a lot. I think he's their best, I think he's their best offensive player for sure. So I give him an A. Jacoby Williams. So he is the second running back. He also had a good season. He's more of an elusive back, whereas Dickey is a more bulldozer. He, too, is very talented, 868 yards rushing. He had a good game against Oregon, played really good against Kansas State, played good against Utah. And he's actually a better receiving running back than Dickey is. So having these two guys as your 1-2 at running back is going to really benefit them. They also have Quinton Jr. He hasn't played much, so he might get some carries, but not a lot because you have Dickey and Williams. But I really like their running backs. I think they have one of the best 1-2 punches in terms of running backs in the Big 12. All right, let's look at the receivers. Mekhi Hudson. He played limited snaps, but was producing in, that limited role. Played good against West Virginia. He didn't play every game. I don't know if he was hurt. Dante Lee Jr., he's a transfer. He's coming from Liberty. Decent stats at 589 yards receiving and 5 touchdowns. But he played in a lesser conference. Don't know how he's going to be used in this offense. Kenny Johnson, that name sounds familiar. He's coming from Pitt. Kenny Johnson, decent numbers. I'm looking at stats right now, as you see. Played good against Georgia Tech. Played good against NC State. Played really good against Boston College. I mean, who didn't? So Johnson and Hudson They could definitely split that role. Malcolm Simmons is another guy to look out for. He's a transfer. He's coming from Auburn. Didn't do much last season, but Auburn's offense was horrible. But he played good against Alabama. He played decent against Vandy. Yeah, he really played good against Alabama, so we'll see how he does. Coy Eakin, I really like. I think he's one of the better slot receivers in the nation. He's in his senior year. It's a make or break year for him to get a draft spot. He produced with an offense that was not the best at times, so he can only get up. They had somebody else in their offense that I liked. Jalen Jones. He's coming from Alabama State. I don't know anything about him. Let's look at their tight ends. Terrence Carter Jr. He really produced. So this guy, he's a good blocker, and he's a good receiver. He was a standout against Oregon. They targeted him a lot. Played good against my Mountaineers. Played good against Kansas State, and played good against Oregon State. So he is just going to get better. And then their second tight end is Jet Carpenter. And Jet, he's coming from Nevada. Decent stats. So, he's going to get his opportunities. He'll probably be a blocking tight end if I had to give a guess. Let's look at their defense. Got a lot of transfers. Are they talented? Yes. Trey White, he's coming from San Diego State. Trey White was one of the best offensive outside linebackers. Sorry, guys, for the brain farts. Again, it's late at night. It's close to 12. He played in the WAC, or the Mountain West. And I just, I don't know how that's going to go for him. I think he is going to get a lot of opportunities, and he's going to be in a better spot. They also have Bryce Butler. He had a nice season with Washington with 2 sacks. He, too, is going to be very talented on their defensive line. Mateen Arabiga. I'm not pronouncing this correctly. What else we got here? A.J. Holmes, he had 4.5 sacks. He's only going to get better. And their defensive line is talented. Julian Leviture, he had 4 sacks. So he's a transfer too. JoJo Johnson, also a transfer. He had 1.5 sacks. This is the thing with Texas Tech. They can mix and match their defensive linemen. They can really play different style. Adam Trick, he played at Miami, Ohio. He had 8.5 sacks. He played good in the MAC championship game. I think he had a sack or 2 in that game. No, he had a forced fumble, though, and 1 QB hit. He stood out in that game. I noticed him. I actually watched the MAC championship. Jamon Mathis, he had 6 sacks, and this was at Kent State. Yeah, I mean, it's Kent State, but still, he could definitely be a talented player for them. Austin Romaine, he's coming from Kansas State. He's going to get a bigger opportunity, or better opportunity for that matter. Corey Platt, anything about him? He had 3 sacks. I mean, that's the thing with Texas Tech. They can rush the QB. They have a lot of pass rushers. Ben Roberts, I really like Ben Roberts. I think he's one of the better linebackers in the nation. He played really good against Oregon. He played really good against BYU in the two matchups that they faced off in. 4 picks as a linebacker, that's saying something. Good size, 6'3", 245. He's their leader. I think he's their best player on defense, arguably. John Curry. I know they had Jacob Rodriguez. That was a big loss. He got drafted by the Dolphins. But Ben Roberts is talented too. People forget about him. He's going to be nasty. Now, do I think he's a first-round draft pick? Probably not. Probably round 3, round 4. He could be a round 2 pick if he has a great season. John Curry. I already covered him. What am I saying? He had half a sack. Let's look at their corners. Bryce Pollock, he had 5 picks and 8 pass deflections. So they have ball hawks also on defense. I really like this roster, especially their defense. I like their defense more than their offense. Davin Martin is coming from UTSA. He had 1 pick. Malik Escara. He's going to get more opportunity. He's a big safety at 6'3". Oliver Miles, the third. Yeah, they got height in their corners and their safeties, man. When you're 6 feet or over, that's going to really help. Brendan Jordan. I mean, these guys they got really good linebackers. Their secondary's decent. Amir Boyd. He had 2 interceptions, but 7 pass deflections. Yeah, I'm impressed. Yeah, when I look at their roster, man, what stands out to me is their linebackers, their front 7, and then on top of it, the safeties and the corners. When you have all that height and you have all that ability to rush the QB and the speed that they use on the defensive front, it's impressive. Do I think they're going to be better than last season? No. And I do think Brendan Sorsby being pretty much dismissed or kicked off the team, it was his own choice, yes. But I think that's a big loss for them. But Hammond, I think he can definitely he can definitely cover that position. He's fully capable of doing it, and he's played in the starter role before. So it's going to be interesting to see how he performs. I'm going to look at their schedule and give you their win and loss projections for me. All right, so they start off the season starting with Albany Christian. That's a win. At Oregon State, that's a win. I think Oregon State they're middle of a road program in the new Pac-12. I'm surprised the Pac-12 still exists. Am I going to cover the Pac-12? Maybe. That could be part of I cover the Mountain West and the Pac-12 in one podcast. I might do that in a couple of weeks. Not anytime soon because I got to cover these power conferences first. So I'm covering the SEC and the Big Ten. Those are 2 conferences I got to cover before I go over the little ones. So yeah, I have them at 2-0. Versus Houston, that's a win, 3-0. Versus Sam Houston, that's a win, 4-0. At Colorado, that's a win, 5-0. Colorado's going to be terrible. I'm going to cover them tomorrow. I just don't think Deion Sanders has a talented roster, and they're going to regress. So already I have Texas Tech at 5-0 versus Arizona State. So this is a home game. I think Arizona State will be better than last season, but I don't think they're going to win at Texas Tech. It's a hard place to play at. especially in like the fall time. It gets very windy over in Lubbock for whatever reason. So yeah, I'm going to pick Texas Tech in that one. So they're 7-0. At Cincinnati, I don't think Cincinnati's that good. So that's a win, 8-0. Versus Arizona, that's a win, 9-0. Or is it 8-0? I think I had them at 8-0, yeah. Versus West Virginia, that's my alma mater. I'm still picking Texas Tech to win that game. So they're 9-0. At Oklahoma State, I got to look at Oklahoma State's roster. I do like their transfers, but I got to see their defensive front. Drew Mestamaker and Eric Morris, that's a good 1-2 punch, and then they have the running back as well. That's a game that Texas Tech should win, but I'm going to say they're going to lose that game. I think Oklahoma State is going to surprise a lot of people. Do I think they're a playoff team? No, but I think Texas Tech will lose against Oklahoma State. So I'm going to pick Oklahoma State in that one in a shocking upset. So now they're at 9-1. And then at Baylor, I think they should win that game. So they're going to be 10-1. And then versus TCU, they should win that game. So I have them at 11-1. I think this team is fully capable of winning 11, wins, or even going undefeated. I think Oklahoma State is going to be a tough task. I think that's a game that they should win, but I think they're going to lose. And it all comes down to Will Hammond. If Will Hammond plays like Baron Morton did last season, or a little bit better than Baron Morton, I think this team could easily go undefeated. But I think they were better last season. They have an easy schedule. When you look at this schedule, the tougher games are at the end of the season, playing at Baylor, playing at Oklahoma State, and then TCU at home. Everybody else they should beat. I think Arizona State is going to regress. I think they're better than last season, but I don't think they're as good as the season when they had Levitt play a full season and they had, Scatterboo. It's different with them. But yeah, I think Oklahoma State is the only team that has a legitimate shot, and it will shock everybody, and they'll beat Texas Tech. So that's a game that they should win, but they'll probably lose. And now that Sorsby's gone, that distraction is over with. They don't need to worry about it. They don't need to worry about teams saying, we're not going to play you. They're going to play them now. So, yeah, I'm going to pick them to go 11-1. They could go undefeated, though. All right. Let's go over my Mountaineers. This should be interesting. So, I'm not a homer with West Virginia. I'm a realist. They're led by Rich Rodriguez. He's in his second season with the Mountaineers. They had a very disappointing 2025 season. They finished at 13th in the Big 12. I just don't like the way the team is structured. And they kind of lack an identity. The QB position was a carousel. So they kept switching QBs. It was a mess. And I only watched a few games because the team was just not interesting. Do I think they're better than last season? They have a lot of transfers, but that not necessarily is not going to help you win games. Michael Hawkins. Let's look at the QBs. So Hawkins is coming from Oklahoma. And the thing with Michael Hawkins that really jumps out to me, his pass completion. His pass completion percentage is at 55.6. You could round it up to 56%. That is not that good. I've watched him play. I've seen him play against Auburn. I've seen him play against I think he played against Alabama. I've watched him in random games because he did fill in for Oklahoma with injuries to their QB, John Mateer, and then he played a little bit. He played more in his freshman season because that was a bad situation too. And if you look at his numbers, he doesn't really, he had a better passing, he had a better completion rate in his freshman season with 63%. And he's listed as a dual threat QB. 204 yards rushing his freshman year, only 58 his sophomore year. And when you look at his stats, this was against Kent State, he had only 162 yards. And his completion percentage was at 58%. 14 for 24, that's not good. See if I could go and analyze more of his stats here. Well, that's pretty much it. But anyways, I don't think he's that good. I don't think he's the answer. I don't think he's going to be the full-time QB. I think he's going to get hurt. He had injury problems when he was at Oklahoma. What's going on with my internet? It's acting wonky. So, yeah, I just don't like him. I don't think he's that good of a QB. The backup is Scotty Fox. Scotty Fox, he played decent at times, but then there was other times you were, like, yelling at your TV saying, what the heck are you doing, Scotty? And he threw for, 1,276 yards. He had 7 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. He is all over the place. And when you look at teams that he played against, Texas Tech, he did nothing. Played good against Arizona State, but Arizona State didn't really have a defense last season. That's not saying much. Played all right against Colorado. Colorado sucks. Houston, he played decent in that game. That was a game that they actually won. I was surprised. TCU, he played all right. Again, an okay team. They're not like at BYU. He barely played, but that was in garbage time. So my verdict with him is he has to be more consistent. I think Hawkins will win the battle for QB1, or I don't know if he's been named starter already. I don't know if Rich Rod has already done that. But Scotty Fox will get his reps because Hawkins will get hurt. I'm just saying that right now. He got hurt at Oklahoma. He's not a big QB. So expect an injury to Hawkins, and then Scotty Fox comes in. He'll play okay. He's not a good QB. Max Brown. I feel like I heard about Max Brown. Max Brown has better size than Hawkins, but he's not that good. If you look at his stats. All right, running backs. I really like Cam Cook. I think Cam Cook is the bright spot with this offense. He led the nation in rushing yards with 1,659, 295 attempts. That's a lot. He had 16 touchdowns. He is a senior, and he worked with Rich Rod in his junior year. So there's a familiarity there. There's a connection between the two. But I don't know, man. I just don't think that he's going to replicate the same season. He played in a lesser conference. He played with Jacksonville State, which are in the, I think they're in the Sun Belt. Let me look this up. No, they're in Conference USA. Yeah, Conference USA, compared to the Big 12, it's a lesser conference. So for him to have the same stats or close to those same stats from last season, that is not going to happen. I just don't see it. I think he's very good, but I like Dickey and Williams more. They have Amari Latimer. He's a freshman. I think he was a 4-star recruit. Let me look that up. I don't know much about him. Look at 247 Sports. Yeah, he was a 4-star recruit. He's coming from Georgia. I mean, high school football in Georgia is pretty good. He's a big running back. He's 6 feet, 228 pounds. So he'll get a decent amount of carries because I feel like Cam Cook is going to get hurt. They also have Chris Talley, also a freshman. He's 5'10", he's at 5'10", 181. He'll probably be the more elusive guy. But again, his carries are going to be limited because he's playing under Cook and Latimer. I think Latimer will get a decent amount of carries because I think Cook will get hurt. I could just see that happening. I mean, that's a lot of rushing attempts. And he's going into his senior year. I might be wrong. And then the receivers, they got a bunch of transfers. And I'll go over the tight ends. Prince, Sirachin. Sirachin played for USC. There was issues with his. I read something like he had a really bad work ethic. Didn't get along with the receiving coach over there, and he just wanted to change of scenery. So there's not a lot to go by, but there are highlights of him making nice catches. I just don't think he's going to be doing a lot with the QB situation. You have Hawkins and Fox; they're just not good. Teron Francis, he's coming from LSU, so maybe this guy will be talented. He's a redshirt freshman, so we'll see. Jaden Bray, he's returning. He's the only returning receiver from last season. Didn't do much. Yeah, I don't think the receiving core is that great. John Nider, he's coming from UConn. Decent stats, but UConn didn't play any conference. And Keon Hutchins. Let's look at the slot receiver. DJ Epps, coming from Troy. Epps had a decent season with Troy, but again, they're in the Sun Belt. Again, it's a lesser conference than the Big 12. Amari Weaver Bomar. He's probably going to be very fast, 5'9", 167. Yeah, I could see him going off. Kedrick Triplett. He's 5'10", 211 pounds. Yeah, so their slot receivers are okay, but it all goes back to the QB position. They don't have a QB. Hawkins is terrible, and Fox is not that good. I'm just stating facts, folks. I love West Virginia. I went there for my bachelor's degree, had a great 4 years there, but the football program is just not the same, and it hasn't been good in years. Even when we moved over to the Big 12, people were going crazy when we beat Texas with what was his name? Why am I blanking on names tonight? Well, Will Greer. When we won with Will Greer against Texas, everyone was like, "Oh, we're on the map. We beat Texas." Texas was not even that good that season. And then we were going crazy. I forgot what game it was. I was there. It was the year we went to the Big 12. It might have been Texas. We beat somebody decent, and then everyone was going crazy in the streets, burning couches. And then the next week we played against Texas Tech in Lubbock. We got killed. And it was so windy in that game. There was 4 or 5 missed field goals. Look that up because that was brutal. All right, their tight end situation, Ryan Ward. He's going to get more reps. He had only 6 receptions for 41 yards. I think he was playing the backup tight end last season. So now he's going to be the starter. Cam Ball. He's coming from Mississippi State. Not much about him. Big dude, 6'7", 240 pounds. So maybe he'll jump out for you. He'll play good for us. Josh Sapp. Nothing really about him. He transferred from Clemson. Let me look at their defense. A lot of transfers on their defense. Zeke Durham Campbell. He had 5.5 sacks with Coastal Carolina. Again, that's a Sun Belt team. I'm not going to look at his game stats. If you come from the Sun Belt and you're jumping over the Big 12 or any of these big conferences, your numbers will regress. He'll maybe get 2 sacks, maybe 3. I might be wrong on that. He could have more. Darius Wiley. Nothing about him. He's come from community college. Nate Gabriel, the nose tackle. Nothing really to write home about. Jalen Thomas, another JUCO transfer. So they got a couple of JUCO transfers. That could work out for you, but it could also, this looks like another JUCO transfer. UT Perman Basin. I've never even heard of that school. KJ Henson, another JUCO transfer. Man, we got so many JUCO transfers. That's the thing is they could be diamonds in the rough or they could really be bad. There's no in between. I don't know if these guys are mediocre or if they're. I didn't look at any stats, man. Corey McIntyre. He's from Port St. Lucie. Wow, Treasure Coast. So I actually teach near there. That's not where I teach though. Harper Holloman. Let's look at he's a defensive end. All right, he played at Western Kentucky. 2 sacks, 1 interception. That's not bad. Toby Hastrup played at Oregon. Didn't get any reps there, so he transfers over to West Virginia. Maybe he'll get more of an opportunity with the Mountaineers. Jeremiah Johnson. They got a lot of no names on defense. Malachi Hood. 1 sack and 1 forced fumble. That's all right. Ashton Woods. It'll be the backup to him. Ben Cutter. Ben Cutter, I actually like. He stood out in a couple games, but you've got to get more tackles as a linebacker. 16 solo tackles is not going to cut it. Tyler Stoleski. He came from Florida Atlantic. He had 1 sack, 42 tackles. Isaiah Patterson, half a sack. He came from UCLA. Nick Taylor, he had 1 interception. I mean, their corners are probably – that's always been an issue with West Virginia's corners. I mean, Chams Digne, he could play decent. Jair Rawlson, coming from Kent State. That's not really saying much. Kent State was terrible. Kamari Wilson. Kamari Wilson is probably their best defender. Look at those stats. He came from IMG. He's been all over the place. Yeah, I think Kamari Wilson is probably their best defensive player. When you look at where he's come from, I think he's going to be a big bright spot for them. Jacob Bradford, he's an LSU transfer. He could be decent. I mean, there's possibilities, man, but I don't know. There's a lot of what ifs. Damari Williams. He's another JUCO transfer. You can just see a pattern here, man. Matt Sieg, he's a freshman. I don't know if he will actually start. We'll see. Andrew Padrell. Why is this computer is so annoying? I said Padrell. He might be the starter. We'll see. Cameron Reddick. He's coming from Stephen F. Austin. Jeremy Latimer II. Didn't really do much with Wisconsin. Malik Hawkins, he is also the brother of Michael Hawkins. So the Hawkins brothers are coming together. There's nothing about him. He also came from Oklahoma. Tim Roberson, also another JUCO transfer. So there's a lot of JUCO transfers. And like I said before, when you get a JUCO transfer, they're either going to be decent or they're going to be pretty good or not so good. So there's a lot of what ifs with their defense. I do like the defense better than the offense, surprisingly. I like Cam Cook, but I don't think he's going to stay healthy. And I also think Michael Hawkins is also not going to stay healthy. So Hawkins and Cook, that's the whole key to their offense. If they can stay healthy, they might win 7 games. I'm being generous. I think they're a 5-win, maybe 4-win team. Let's look at their schedule, and I'll make a non-biased view on their season. So they start off the season with Coastal Carolina. I'm going to say they'll win that game. Coastal Carolina used to be the darling of the Sun Belt. Now they're second fiddle. I also really don't think they're going to perform well, because JMU is really taking over that spot in the Sun Belt. So pick West Virginia in that game. It's going to be close, though. I could see them not scoring a ton of points. UT Martin, that's a win. So they're 2-0. Versus Virginia, that's a loss. I think Virginia's a better team. I previewed them. I had Virginia at, let's see, their win and loss record here. I had Virginia at 7-5. I think Virginia's a better team. I think they've been the better program the last couple years, especially last year. So they have them at 2-1. Versus Oklahoma State, I'm picking that as a loss as well. Oklahoma State has a better team. They have a better roster. Again, I like Messamaker. I like Eric Morris. I really like their running back. So I got them at 2-2. At Iowa State. Iowa State lost a lot of people, to the transfer portal. Everyone pretty much went over to Penn State with Matt Campbell. But I just don't see West Virginia winning that game, man. I just don't. Iowa State is a tough place to play. Even though they're not going to be the same team as they were the year before, Ames is still a difficult environment. I'm picking Iowa State in that game. I just don't think this West Virginia team is capable of winning a tough road game like that. So I have them at 2-3. Versus Arizona. Arizona's QB, I forgot his name. He said, I think it was yesterday or the day before, he said that they can win 11 or 12 games and make a playoff run. I'm like, dude, shut up. Your team is all right. I think Arizona's a better team than West Virginia, though. Man, I want to pick West Virginia here, but I'm going to pick Arizona. I think that's a loss, so they're 2-4. Versus Cincinnati, I think that's a game that Cincinnati should win, but they're probably going to lose. I'll pick West Virginia in that game. All right. At TCU, that's a loss. At Texas Tech, that's a loss. Versus Kansas, that's a win. Versus Houston, I know they beat them last season, but I think Houston's better than last season. Give me Houston in that one. And then Utah, that's definitely a loss. So I have them winning against Coastal Carolina, UT Martin. I have them being Cincinnati. And I have them being Kansas. So I have them at, dude, I hate to say it, I think they're a 3-9 team. I don't see them winning more than 4 games. When you look at when you look at their schedule, man, it's tough. These are winnable games, these first 2. Coastal Carolina and at UT Martin. But then Virginia, that's a loss. Versus Oklahoma State, that's a loss. They're not going to win in Ames. They're not going to win at Texas Tech or TCU or even at Utah. You can make an argument that maybe they can beat Houston, but they can also lose that game as well. I don't think this team is good. I think they're one of the worst teams in the Big 12, honestly. If the defense holds up with the JUCO transfers, then yeah, maybe they can win 5 or 6 games. But they're not a playoff team. They're not even close to being a playoff team. And the whole thing about West Virginia fans, you got to be patient right now. You have a guy in Rich Rod that took over the program last season, and he's still working around the roster. There could be potential. If Michael Hawkins plays out of his mind, man, they could be an 8-win team. But I don't see it. And I don't think he's fully capable of doing that. Like, he was not that good at Oklahoma. What makes you believe he's going to be good against Big 12 opponents? When you're running for your life against Texas Tech, when you're running for your life against TCU even. I think TCU is a better team than them. Cincinnati is a decent team, but I think they'll win that game, shockingly. I think that's the one game that you can kind of like, it's a pick 'em. But besides that, all of these other games are losable games. So I'm going to have them at 3-9. I just don't think they're that good. I got to put these in the Ross. I got to put this in the standings. Hang on one second. I got to update my notes. So 11-1 for Texas Tech, and then West Virginia. Hate to say it, 3-9. We've seen better days, man. How many games did we win last season? Yeah, like Texas Tech, they destroyed us. They beat us 49 to nothing. We went 4-8. I don't think we're that good. I think last year's team was a little bit better than this year's. Honestly. And you have a lot of question marks on defense. You have a lot of JUCO transfers. If they don't perform, your depth is very, very, very low. And the only redeeming saving grace for this team is maybe their secondary. I as weird as that sounds, usually their secondary is their weak spot. But it could be a surprise. So I have them at 3-9. Maybe 4-8, maybe 5-7. I don't think they're a playoff team. Yeah, I'm just being realistic, and I hate to say that because that's my alma mater. I want them to win 10 games, 11 games, 12 games. They're not next to that level. They're not even near to Texas Tech's caliber, man. And if you think that, you're delusional. I'm sorry. All right, let's go over to Cincinnati. So Cincinnati, they lost Brendan Sorsby to the transfer portal, but we all saw how that played out. So they're not really missing out on him. They said that they weren't aware of his gambling habits. I think they were. They're just keeping their mouth shut. They're playing dumb. And what Satterfield has done with this team, they've kind of been up and down. Like, they had a couple games they should have won last season that they didn't. They finished 7th in the Big 12. I thought they should have been better. Like, I thought they were gonna beat BYU, and they lost that game. They killed Iowa State. That was fun to watch. So let's look at their roster. J.C. French the fourth is their new QB. He's coming from Georgia Southern. Pretty impressive numbers. 64% completion rate. You can round that up. 20 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. Let's see, for his rushing yards, he had 315 yards rushing and 6 rushing touchdowns. So this guy's a dual threat QB. And yes, he played for Georgia Southern. He played for the Sun Belt Conference. But those numbers alone are way better than Michael Hawkins. So this guy, I don't even know anything about him. I never saw him play. I'm telling you right now, he's probably going to be better than Hawkins. So, all right, that jumps out to me. I do have West Virginia beating Cincinnati. Let's look at the running backs. Zion Johnson, he was good last season. I mean, decent last season. I think he was their backup running back. Zylan Perry. He's coming from Louisiana, another Sun Belt team. Yeah, he had a good season. Honestly, he'll probably win the starting role. Based off these stats, give Brian Payne. Didn't do much with Notre Dame, but he is, again, the Notre Dame transfer. We'll see. All right, let's look at the receivers. They have a ton of transfers. J.V. Gibson didn't do much with Oklahoma. I think he was playing at limited snaps, but he's going to be the main target for French. Elijah Jones, he'll get more reps. Flynn Shiley, never heard of that school. Colorado Schools of Mines. Interesting. Malachi Henry, he's another transfer. Lorenzo Fenner. Their wide receivers are questionable. Isaiah Johnson, he's in the slot. He had a decent season. Let's see how he does. Cade Wolford, coming from Kent State, didn't do much with the Golden Flashes. And then Pierce Ayers. See, their receivers are kind of weak. And you look at the tight ends, Gavin Grover didn't do much. He might not be the starter. They might make the start. He's 6'6", 255, though. He's a big tight end. Devin Zuriski, 6'4", 247. Yeah, their tight ends are weak. Overall, their offense doesn't scare me a lot. Like I said before, I have West Virginia beating them. Let's look at their defense. Marquez Parker. He had 1.5 sacks. Jalen White McLean. He had 1 forced fumble. Elijah Gunn. That's a cool name. 6 feet, 307 pounds. Wow. Chodre Atanu. He's coming from UTSA. He had 2.5 sacks. So they got a big defensive line. Cam Rutherford. Got all these guys from no-name schools. Josh Ho. Or Hogg. I think that's it. Hogg. I don't know. Thomas Johnson. Dude, they have so many JUCO transfers. Not as many West Virginia, but they got a lot. Patrick Bauer. They don't really have any stats. Jonathan Thompson. Okay. He had a decent season. Simeon Coleman. Philip Mezarowski. 2.5 sacks. Brian Sims, the third. He had 2 sacks. So their defense is decent. MJ Cannon. 2 interceptions, 1 pass deflection. Daniel James. Kenny Worthy. Antoine Peak Jr. Secondary does not scare me. CJ Jones, Yeah, they don't really have a lot of talent on the secondary. Jasper Bueller, he had 3 interceptions, 2 pass deflections, 1 forced fumble. Ty Goodwill, Jacob Finley, and last but not least, KK Meyer. Yeah, they got a lot of questions on defense, man. I just don't think they have a great team. When I look at their roster, I think French is going to be talented. I think he's better than Hawkins, but they're playing against us at home. So West Virginia is at home. So that's why I picked West Virginia to win that game. But let's look at their schedule. They'll beat Boston College. Boston College is terrible. Western Carolina, they should win that game. Miami, Ohio, that's a win. So they're 3-0. Versus Kansas State, I'm going to have that as a loss. I think Kansas State will bounce back. I think they're going to shock a lot of people. You know, now that they have a new coach in Colin Klein. I really like what Colin Klein has done in his limited time as an offensive coordinator, especially with Texas A&M. Yeah, give me Kansas State in that game, so that's a loss. So they're 3-1. At Arizona, that's a loss, 3-2. At West Virginia, that's a loss, 3-3. Versus Texas Tech, that's a loss. So they're 3-4. Versus Utah, that's a loss, 3-5. At Houston, that's a loss, 3-6. At Iowa State, that's a loss, 3-7. Versus Colorado, that's a win, so they're 4-7. And then at BYU, that's a loss, 4-8. I think they're a 4-8 team. I just don't. They don't jump out to me. Their defense has a lot of transfers, a lot of JUCO guys, kind of similar to West Virginia. I think West Virginia has a better defense than them. The whole thing about their QB situation is if KJ French plays well for them, let's say, for instance, he throws for 20 to 25 touchdowns, maybe they can win 5 or 6 games. The window for them is 7 wins at most. They're not a good team. They have a lot of tough games on the road. When you got to play at Iowa State, when you got to play at Arizona, especially with the time difference, that's going to really screw them over, man. And I just don't see them winning that many games because of that schedule. Guys, I'm going to take a little break. Hang on 1 second. I'll be right back. I'm going to get some water. My mouth is parched. All right, I am back. Sorry about that, guys. I needed some water. But, yeah, going back to Cincinnati, they're not that good. So I'm going to have them at 4-8. I think they're a smidge better than West Virginia. All right, next up, BYU. BYU, they could shock a lot of people. And it's going to be between them and Texas Tech like last year for the Big 12 championship. So Kalani Sitake, I think that's how you say it, there were rumors that he was going to leave for Penn State. He decided to stay with BYU. They won the Pop-Tart Bowl in that epic game against Georgia Tech. That was a great bowl game. I hope they'd never get rid of the Pop-Tart Bowl, but let's be real. In all likelihood, in the future, it'll probably be gone because of the playoffs being expanded. That's just how it's going to go. But when I look at this roster, Bear Brockmeyer is a very good QB. I think he's one of the better QBs in the nation. he had a very successful freshman season. As a true freshman, he threw for 3,000 yards. Yes, the thing that he needs to improve on, right over here, touchdowns. He had only 15. That's not a lot. And I think he can improve on that. I think he can honestly throw for 20 to 25 touchdowns. Sorry about the ad. I got rid of this. His completion rate was at 64. You can round it up. 65%, man. That's really good. So he was very effective. The games that he stood out in were especially against he played great against Georgia Tech. Didn't play so well against Texas Tech. And that's the thing, is if he could overcome the mishaps in the first time he played against them, they can win the Big 12. They can easily win the Big 12. Do I think they will? No. I think it's Texas Tech's to lose. And I think if they win enough games, they should get playoff consideration. I feel like the Big 12, they always get thrown in the back burner in terms of the big conferences because the teams that are in this conference are not as good as the teams in the Big 10 or the SEC. I'll even say the ACC is a little bit better than the Big 12. It's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. And I have a lot of teams in the ACC winning 10 or more wins, having 10 or more wins in that conference. But his stats, man, they jump out to me. He played good against West Virginia. He played good against practically everybody in the Big 12. He played good against. So sky's the limit for that kid. He's excellent. Their running backs, LJ Martin is very talented. And he, too, is just getting better every season. You look at these stats, he's increased his yardage every year. Now, he did get hurt during their bowl game. He can get hurt at times. That's the only thing I'm a little bit worried with him. But when he's healthy, man, he is productive. And he can also catch out of the backfield. He's a very good receiving running back. So LJ Martin is arguably one of the best running backs in the nation, not just in the Big 12. Zion Moa, he didn't get a lot of carries last year, but now he's going to get a bigger opportunity. Preston Rex, probably not going to get any carries. All right, so let's look at the receivers. They obviously don't have what's his face? Sorry, I'm looking him up. Parker Kingston. So Parker Kingston was dismissed from the team. Now are they going to bring him back after his case was found not guilty? Probably not. I'm assuming that they're going to keep the roster as is and not add him on. They have Kyler Casper. He's coming from Oregon. Didn't do much with Oregon, but with this new team, he'll have an expanded role. Tyanuka, probably not going to do anything. JoJo Phillips didn't play much last season. Reggie Froshenkite, I think that's how you say it. I don't know him. Tiger Bachmeier, that's the brother. I think they're brothers. Yeah, I think that's his brother. He's the older brother. He's coming from Stanford. He will probably get a huge opportunity in the slot. Legend Glasgow, he's a freshman. And Jaron Pula is also a freshman. So their offense, without Parker Kingston, it looks a little bit weak. I think LJ Martin is the bright spot. I think Brockmeyer is excellent. But the whole thing about their receivers is that they have to perform. And then if you look at their tight ends, I forgot to do that. Hang on one second. We'll go back to the tight ends. They have two transfers. Walker Lyons, He's coming from USC. I covered him in the transfer portal when we did our episode about the transfers for tight ends. He's talented. He's definitely talented. I think he was a 4-star recruit. Roger Selepienge. He's coming from Oregon. He's a big kid too. So yeah, Lions and Selepienge, they can definitely help Brockmeyer in terms of the receiving issues. I think their wide receivers are a little bit weak, but they have a good 1-2 punch at tight end for sure. Let's look at their defense. Bodie Schnover, is that how you say it? He had 3 sacks. Villamai Poyi, 1 sack. Justin Kirkland, big kid, 6'3", 335 pounds. Anase Purcell, he had 2 sacks. He'll probably be the starter. Keanu Tanavose, he had 2 sacks. I know they're missing Jack Arnold. I think he got drafted. Ulavele Filtile. Isaiah Glasker. He had 3 sacks. And this defense is decent. Ace Kafose. Saleh Isera, 1 sack. Miles Hall. No linebacker, Saleh Isera. He had 1 sack. Oh, wait, I already covered these guys. Cade Uvalele. He's coming from Cal. He's talented. I covered him in the linebackers. He had 100 total tackles. So that's impressive. Jake Clifton. He's coming from Kansas State. Yeah, Uvalele is going to be decent. Evan Johnson, he had 5 interceptions. So their corners are decent. He's a senior, so this is a make or break year for him for the draft. Felatier Sitoe, he's talented. He's only a redshirt sophomore, 6'4", 215. That is huge for a safety. 3 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, 4 pass deflections. Have fun with this guy. He's a good player. I watched a few of their games. He stood out. Matthias Leach didn't play much. Vernon Alexander, 1 interception, 5 pass deflections. Raider Dumini, 1 interception. Oh, he's from Provo. That's where this school is. Jaron Kalama. I like their defense a lot. Jonathan Kebeye. Corners are a little bit weak, but they have good safeties. Tommy Parasis. All right, so they have good tight ends. They got a great running back, and they got a great QB. Sky's the limit with this team, man. They are a favorite, one of the favorites, to win the Big 12. I think they're going to go toe-to-toe with Texas Tech. They could beat them, but I would pick Texas Tech in that. It's going to be close. They could avenge that Big 12 loss. All right, let's look at their schedule. Versus Utah Tech, that's a win. Versus Arizona, that's a win. at Colorado State. I'll say that's a win. Colorado State's not a good Mountain West team, so I have them at 3-0. That's a Saturday night game on CBS. I did not know CBS was doing Mountain West Big 12 matchups. That's pretty random. I might catch some of that. So at 3-0 at TCU. I got to look at TCU's roster, man, but I really like this defense, and I really like their tight ends, and I like LJ Daniels, and I like Brockmeyer. Give me the Cougars. Sorry, I got like some acid reflux tonight. It's brutal. So, give me the Cougars in that one. So I have them at 4-0. That's going to be a tough game at TCU. I think that could go, either way. But I'm going to pick the Cougars. So they're 4-0. Versus Iowa State, that's a win. They're 5-0. Versus Notre Dame, I know it's a home game, but I'm going to pick the Fighting Irish in that one. So they're 5-1. At UCF, I'm going to say that's a win, 6-1. Versus Arizona State, that's a win, 7-1. At Utah, that's a loss, 7-2. I think Utah is going to avenge that loss that they had last year against them. They really go toe-to-toe with each other. So they're at 7-2. Versus Baylor, that's a win, 8-2. At Kansas, that's a win. And then versus Cincinnati, that's a win. So I got them at 10-2. I think they're really good. I really like their defense. And again, Brockmeyer is one of the better QBs, not just in the Big 12, but also in the nation. And LJ Daniels is very underrated. The key for them is for their deep. It's pretty much for their receivers. If the receivers play decent or somewhat to the capability they should, this team could easily go undefeated. But I think playing against Notre Dame is going to be a loss. I think playing against I got to look back at their schedule. Sorry, I exited out of the share screen. We got two more teams left after this. We have Kansas State and Baylor, and then we're done for the night. I think they're going to have a lot of trouble at Utah. I think Utah's a good team as well. And, again, it's going to be either Utah or BYU that will play against Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship game. It's really those two teams to play for this spot. And that is Declan. I might end this episode early. He does this. My heart just sunk because I'll record in the middle of the night and he usually doesn't wake up, but now he's waking up. Man, I really want to cover these next two teams, but I don't want to do it if my son is crying. I need to attend to him. Sorry, I'm looking at the baby monitor right now. So he sleeps in the crib. He'll self-soothe. Okay, please, buddy, go back to sleep. Okay, I think he's good. Maybe not. Yeah, so I have them at 10-2. I'll put that in my notes. So we have two more teams left. The next team we have is, maybe I'll lower my voice. Yeah. He's going through sleep regression now. So yeah, this is gonna be tough to finish this episode. He's moving around a lot. I'll show you guys. So that's him, as you can see. Yeah, he's moving around. I don't know. Oh, man. Okay. He's still moving around. You know what, guys? I'm gonna call it a night. I'm gonna call it an episode because I gotta go and attend to him. Dad duty, as we call it. And I think any other dad would understand because, like, I'm not comfortable with finishing this episode if he's he's moving around and he's probably needs a diaper change. So yeah, guys, thank you for watching. We're gonna cover Cincinnati. No, we're gonna cover Kansas State and Baylor and some other teams tomorrow. But thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and stay tuned for the next episode. So again, this was a great episode, and we'll finish the rest of the Big 12 in the next couple days. Peace out, guys.